Ah, combiners. Transformers that usually come in special teams and can merge with one another to form a new and more powerful form. But have you ever wondered, with all that power, what's going on inside the mind of a combiner?
We combiners are here to stay, and more coming!
Consider supporting the channel on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us bring you more content like this. In my last video, I asked the question, what is a combiner? I went through many examples of Transformers that are and are not combiners. From Devastator and Superion to Victorion and Galvatronus, combiners have appeared in almost every Transformers series. Seriously, there's just one too many. We looked at why Skylynx and Reflector are not considered combiners. While there was no way I could look at every single one of them, many of them are worth pointing out. Oh, and as a correction, the ship that destroyed the garbage heap Devastator in Revenge of the Fallen is not a carrier, but it is a destroyer. I also mentioned that power core combiners are not classified as actual combiners. The reason for this is that while they do use similar technology, the Torso is the only living character who controls mindless drones. These vehicles would then merge with the Torso, giving them a super powered up mode. In the same way, the Prime Force that comprises of Optimus Prime's super mode in Transformers Energon does not make him alone a combiner either. This goes even further throughout the Unicron trilogy, as Transformers that combine with each other here are referred to as power linking. In this process, one Transformer simply becomes a power-up for the other, usually with the upper half taking control. Some may or may not consider power linking to be actual combining, since they do not share a single mind. This harkens all the way back to G1, where combiner technology creates a new identity for the Transformers involved. When Devastator was first introduced in the original cartoon, his voice was synthesized in such a way that it sounded like more than one of the Constructicons was speaking.
Prepare to meet your doom. Nothing can withstand the might of Devastator.
Even though it was just the talented Arthur Berghardt voicing the giant Decepticon throughout the series. Berghardt is also known for the voice of Stalker and Destro in G.I. Joe. This unique voice lends to the idea that Devastator is what many longtime fans refer to as the German word Gestalt, meaning an organized whole that is perceived as more than the sum of its parts. While the term was never in use officially, the concept is that when Transformers combine, they merge their minds as well, becoming a new identity altogether. This has been further explored in Transformers stories that followed. When the Constructicons were introduced in the Marvel Comics several months later after the cartoon, Devastator's fragmented mind could not tell the difference between Autobot and Decepticon until Soundwave was able to point him in the right direction. With the Decepticons, their combiner teams usually comprise of Decepticons who generally don't agree with one another. This results in their combined forms to act like raging beasts, whose effectiveness is simply destroying what is in their path.
Bruticus hates Cybertron. Bruticus hates you all.
For example, in the Dreamwave comics, Menassor's rage was thwarted when Ultra Magnus taunted him, which caused the individual Stunticons to bicker inside Menassor's mind. Ultra Magnus was then able to take him out by ramming him in vehicle mode. Predaking was always known to be an exception to this, as the Predacons unite under a single goal, hunting their prey. This made them one of the most effective combiners the Decepticons could employ. For the Autobots, their teams would result in combiners who take the time to analyze their next goal, taking the input of the whole team into consideration. This was especially true for Computron, who had to announce his thoughts and actions as he calculated what to do next.
Positioning laser cannon, fire! Estimated probability of Terrorcon victory over Computron, 4.1%.
Defensor's primary goal was to protect human and Autobot life, since he is comprised of the Autobot rescue squad, the Protectobots. He clearly was at a disadvantage in the episode The Ultimate Weapon, when First Aid, the team's medic, and pacifist decided to quit the Autobots. With only one arm, he still managed to save the people on the train.
This would be a lot easier if First Aid was here.
Considering that this combining technology creates a new identity and mind, one must ask, where does it originate? That really depends on continuity, since combiners have appeared in almost every Transformers series. The Marvel Comics made it simple. Shockwave built the Constructicons and the technology to combine, and the Autobots copied it when making their teams. The cartoon, however, simply introduced the combiners with the Constructicons' conflicting origin. It was the Transformers Collectors Club that tried to iron out a proper origin for combiners. The first story was told of Nexus Prime, one of the original 13 Transformers. Yes, I do eventually intend to make a video on the 13, so that's a discussion for another day. Their version of him was split into 5 parts using Prima's weapon, the Star Saber. Skyfall, Landquake, Breakaway, Topspin, and their leader Heatwave were then sent to different universes. Eventually, they were brought back together in the Shattered Glass universe, where Primus, not the Shattered Glass version, would offer them to become whole again. He reformed them back into Nexus Prime, who would go on to save the heroic Shattered Glass Decepticons from the evil Autobots' ultimate weapon, Omega Doom. Being whole once again, Nexus Prime would now need to absorb all the memories he had when he was split into 5. While this version of Nexus Prime did use the Energon Combiner molds as a Collectors Club exclusive, he is not classified as a combiner in fiction, as he can no longer separate into his component parts. The next story Fun Publications told would take place in the Wings universe, where similar events to the G1 cartoon take place, but characters look different due to current toys being released. It was here that we are introduced to the Autobot Elite Guard, in which Dion, Metalhawk, Cup, and Sentinel Major were a part of. Their leader, Magnum, introduced a hit squad, known as the Combaticons, to take out the various Decepticon commanders. After being captured, the Combaticons would join Deathsaurus, the same character from Victory, whose technology gave them the ability to merge into Bruticus. After being defeated by the Autobots, Bruticus and Deathsaurus were captured by Megatron. In order to become the supreme Decepticon leader, Megatron defeated Deathsaurus in gladiatorial combat. Deathsaurus then taunted that the Combaticons would never follow Megatron. The new Decepticon leader would then order the sparks and personality components of the Combaticons removed.
Millions of years ago, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by Megatron for a crime they didn't commit. With the help of Starscream in 1985, they escaped from a Decepticon detention center on Cybertron to the Earth Underground. Today, still wanted by Megatron, they survive as Decepticon soldiers of fortune. If you want revenge, if no one else can help, and you can find them, maybe you can hire the Combaticons.
Megatron would then have the Decepticons use Deathsaurus' technology to give the Constructicons the ability to merge into Devastator. It's also stated in a later issue that Hook was the team leader, and that when they were rebuilt on Earth, Scrapper was appointed their leader. The Align continuity also explored the concept of Nexus Prime being the first combiner, but he was split into very different pieces than the ones in Fun Publications books. Eventually, Shockwave's experiments would mimic Nexus Prime's ability to combine, turning the Combaticons into Bruticus, who was playable in the game Fall of Cybertron.
Bruticus angry.
In 2015's Robots in Disguise, Bumblebee's team absorbed radiation from a nuclear waste dump while battling the Stunticon Dragstrip. This gave Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Strong Arm, Grimlock, and Drift the ability to become Ultra Bee. But unlike other combiners with a Gestalt mind, the team basically controls their own body, and so they have to agree to get anything accomplished. Yes, this is very awkward. They would battle the show's version of the Stunticons, who merge into Menasor, as well as Cyclonus' team, who merge into Galvatronus in the show's finale. The comics from IDW Publishing would further expand upon Nexus Prime being the first combiner, in that he wielded the enigma of combination. His first experiments with this took the beasts of Onyx Prime and other Transformers to make the first Headmasters, at least until Galvatron killed them all. Experimenting with the technology without the aid of the enigma of combination, Giaxus, the same Psycho who forcibly experimented on RC, tried making a team of volunteers into a combiner. This resulted in them becoming the insane beasts Monstructor. Years later, one of Giaxus' pupils, Shockwave, would make the technology turning the Constructicons into Devastator. This technology was also used to turn the Stunticons into Menasor as well. After Scrapper was killed by Spike, Prowl was experimented on, allowing the Constructicons to merge into Devastator with Prowl as his head. The aerial bots decided to leave Bumblebee's new government on Cybertron after their friend Barrel Roll was killed in an explosion. Being lured to the Cybertronian wilderness, they were experimented on by Megatron, using the combiner energies from the Devoid. While Ironhide was running from the Dinobots, he was saved by the aerial bots, now combined as Superion. They would eventually battle with Devastator, which ended with them being torn apart, killing Slingshot. Prowl and the Constructicons then attempted to retrieve the Enigma of Combination, which was found on Earth. However, it was brought to Starscream by his lackey, Scoop. With the Enigma of Combination, Starscream ordered Superion be rebuilt using the Autobot helicopter Alpha Bravo to take Slingshot's place on the team, while Powerglide served as his gun. He also had Scoop replace Prowl with Devastator so that he can control the Constructicons better. It was here that the Combiner Wars storyline began, bringing Defensor and Bruticus into the mix thanks to the Enigma of Combination. It also allowed the Stunticons to properly merge into Menasor and give Optimus Prime, along with Prowl, Sunstreaker, Ironhide, and Mirage, to become Optimus Maximus. This was a throwback to the G1 episode Masquerade. Here, the Stunticons were captured by the Autobots one by one.
Because I'd hate to go through that again.
Optimus Prime, along with Jazz, Sideswipe, Mirage,
Dragstrip, aka Mirage,
and Windcharger, disguised themselves as the Stunticons to thwart Megatron's plans. The Stunticons would eventually escape as Menasor and return to the Decepticons. The Autobots in disguise would become a fake Menasor using Windcharger's magnet beams and Mirage's ability to create the illusion of Menasor's face. This disguise only held up for a short time, as
Menasor has special powers. No need for the disguises anymore.
back to the IDW comics, new combiners would be added to the mix as well. The all-female team known as the Torchbearers were in pursuit of RC, who had stolen the Enigma of Combination so that she could destroy it. During the battle, Rustus grabbed the device to protect it and accidentally activated it. This turned the Torchbearers into the combiner Victorion. Her toy was released in Japan as the Decepticon combiner Megatronia, which is made up of Mega Empress and her 4 guards, Luna Club, Moonheart, Flowspade, and Trick Diamond. The Enigma of Combination was later in control planet-wide by Galvatron, who made an army of combiners, including Galvatronus and Skyrain. Once Superion managed to download the source code for the Enigma of Combination, he deactivated it, marking an end to all IDW combiners. The Prime Wars Trilogy cartoon also made use of the Enigma of Combination, where the Council of Worlds planned on using it to...
The Council has the Enigma of Combination. They're gonna build an army of combiners!
The combiners here for the most part only act in their combined form, and are rarely seen otherwise, if at all. With the new Power of the Prime series expected to introduce their version of Predaking, and the Dinobot's first combiner form of Volcanicus, we shall see how they handle the characters here. I just won't get my hopes up. In the G1 episode, The Key to Vector Sigma, Alpha Trion sacrifices himself to reactivate Vector Sigma by merging with it. Doing so allows the Autobots to give life to the Aerial Bots.
He gave himself up just so we could have some jets. That's nuts. No. 1 Autobot gave his life so that 6 could be born.
Being a 5-member team, saying that 6 could be born can be explained that the combined form is a new life. Once they merge, the Aerial Bots become Superion. As you can see through all these examples, combiners' origins and classifications vary slightly, but they need to have their minds merged to properly be classified as a combiner. I hope you've enjoyed my 2-part look at combiners, what is and isn't, and their origins throughout the franchise. The technology isn't always perfect, but it still is one of the coolest concepts throughout all of Transformers.
Wow, how come we can't do that? I don't know.
But what do you think? What is your origin of choice for the combiners? And what do you think is the most effective one of them all? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, hit that bell to be notified when I release a new video, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I want to thank my patrons for all of your support. And as always, until next time, till all are one.
Don't get your hopes up. I'll be back. And when I make my return, Rodimus, I'll be coming especially for you.